All right, guys, welcome back to the Mental Workshop, where I invite all of you guys to come think with me, okay? Let's find some clarity. Let's just wrestle with some questions. Let's explore it. And I always, when I bring it into this laboratory here, this workshop, I always try to find a question that is challenging and one that I haven't thought about, at least not so directly, okay? I've certainly thought about a lot of this different kind of stuff. This is the stuff that excites me. This is the stuff I just enjoy doing. I love wrestling with these things, thinking about it from multiple angles, bringing in some different perspectives and stuff like that. So I think that that's the joy of doing this, but I think it's even exciting for you guys too. You guys get to not only see it and feel it, but I bring you guys in with me. Like, think for yourself for a while here, follow some of my threads, get some ideas. It's going to start to spark your brain a little bit and make you think a little differently. I'm hoping that this will excite you as well, as it should, I would think. I would love to be on the other side of the screen doing this. I've always wanted to do this with somebody. So it's like I'm giving it to you guys so we can have some fun. Okay, so that being said, let's jump into this one. This is going to be the question. It is going to be, and I have actually a whole list of these we're going to eventually get through. There's a lot, and I'm actually I love doing this. So this is, this is we're going to get through this. Why do smart people make bad decisions? Ooh, I can answer this one for myself, but we're not going to do that. Okay. I'm going to try to take myself out of it. I might bring in some of my experiences to kind of help out, but let's think about it. Why do smart people make bad decisions? So let's think. What's a good question to ask on this one? I think the first one that comes to my mind is, why would anybody want to make a bad decision? And I think there's multiple ways to think about that, right? Because you can think about it from the willingness to want to make a bad decision. Do you want to make a bad decision? Or are you kind of feeling like you're maybe forced to make a bad decision? Or like, where is the line to be drawn? How do we want to classify a bad decision? I mean, like, people make bad decisions all the time. And sometimes they don't even know that they're making a bad decision. Sometimes you got to learn from experience. So, I think a question to be asked about this specific question is, did they know it willingly? And I'm going to assume on this question that it was willingly. I think it's implied in this question, but it's a good question to kind of think about and ask, is that, anybody can make a bad decision. It doesn't just need to be a smart person. Now, assuming that that's true, okay? Assuming that that's implied that, it's a smart person that makes a bad decision and they wanted to, I guess we could say that. Or maybe they're ignorant. I guess that's not true, right? By definition, smart people would know. So I guess we're starting to answer the question and figure out what the question's really asking too. And I think that that's important. So for this question, it sounds like what it's really asking, after we've kind of wrestled with it a little bit and made sure that we got the question right so we can answer it better, is that a smart person would make bad decisions and know that they're making those bad decisions. So why? I think Winston Churchill, but I think that a lot of people have taken this one and changed it. But I always come back to this thought, is that the way that Winston Churchill, I believe, said it, it might have been Roosevelt too. I'm not sure which one, to be honest with you. Get in the comments if you guys know. But a means to an end. And what does that really mean? It means that sometimes we need to do something that we're not proud of, or something that on paper looks bad. Going to war to fight for peace. The war is the means, but winning that war might lead to peace for all of us. Okay, so that's a means to an end. So why a smart person might make bad decisions maybe, is that they might want to, or they might see some, like almost like a chess game. You know, you need to kind of sacrifice some things or make some bad decisions in order to get to the finish line, in order to get somewhere, in order to get some aspiration or whatever it is that you're kind of trying to get to. I think you can even think about that maybe from business people too. I think society or culture has kind of this idea that they're all greedy, they're selfish people, and I don't think that that's necessarily true. Now, I'm not saying that that's not true sometimes, but I feel like a lot of them kind of go through this process of what do I need to do to become a businessman? And I think a lot of people, maybe at some point, as they're becoming more mature, that's one of the avenues that a lot of people, I think, take, is they either sell out, they cheat, they steal. Not everybody, okay? But I think that's kind of a cultural interpretation or some way that we feel maybe about business people, depending on where you're at too, right? I mean, if you're financially stable, you know, you're probably not thinking that way, okay? But, you know, what I'm saying is I think cultural, if you would ever bring that up in a conversation, in most cases, that's probably how people might feel about it. But you hear what I'm saying? Like, that's a means to an end, okay? You know, they're looking eventually at the bigger picture, and it's just a matter of finding themselves and getting there at some point. Okay, so let's repeat the question one more time. I think we've done a pretty good job of wrestling it, but maybe I'll think about it from a different direction. I think we pulled some nice strings here and some threads. Why do smart people make bad decisions? Maybe I'll try and think about this from my perspective or from some of the experiences that I've had. I think that means to an end explains almost anything I've ever done when it comes to a bad decision. It was always ultimately for a bigger goal in mind, and maybe I didn't understand any other alternatives, and maybe in my mind I was like, hey, this might be your only way to get there, and you need to do these. And then through that experience of me actually doing that or making bad decisions, I would actually get somewhere, okay? I would learn from it in hindsight. I'd be like, okay, well, you know what? I've gotten more mature now, or I've already finished this or completed this, and I kind of see it differently now. You might have been able to do it this way. You didn't know that at the time, that kind of stuff. So I would say that that's probably a lot of the times. And now I don't make as many bad decisions because you learn from it. I think that's the whole point at the end of the day, is to learn from the decisions that you make, and own them too. I think ownership is such an underrated thing sometimes, or I think we've heard it so many times when we were younger, we forget what that looks like. Not blaming others for our circumstances, being responsible for our own lives at some point. And that can be challenging for so many different reasons. I won't go into all the details on that. Yeah, aside from that, I think sometimes, and I can speak for myself on this one, and I won't go into too much detail, but there was a time in my life where I was trying to understand other people's perspectives. And the way that I like to do that best is through experience, through learning. And I am not suggesting that you guys do this for yourself. So don't misunderstand what I'm doing here. I did it because I wanted to experience fully the world, understand people fully, as fully as I could. And so I was dishonest for a season in my life, intentionally, because it was more of an experiment. I wanted to know what it felt like. I wanted to understand those people that did it. I wanted to be able to spot them out. I didn't want to be deceived either. There were so many, what I would consider good reasons, in my opinion at that time, to do it, but to also bring that information over so that I wouldn't be lied or cheated to, so that I would understand it. But sometimes, I'm not going to lie to you, ignorance is a bliss, okay? So it's like, one of the hardest things I ever learned by doing that was that when you start living that way, you start to develop that language and a lens of life that becomes a habit and then a pattern. And then you forget why you even started. Like, you know, you don't just snap out of it one day and be like, oh, I want to now be honest. I used to be dishonest. I knew that this was an experiment, but life starts pulling us in 400,000 different directions every day. And we forget half of what we set out to do sometimes. I think we all do that. That's why remembering such a big thing. I was stuck in that, being dishonest in the language and everything like that, and I had forgotten I was even doing that at all. It's dangerous is what I'm trying to say. So I don't recommend that anybody does that. But what I'm saying is it was a means to an end. I wanted to basically be able to help other people too, help them understand it, all right? From the good guy side. But you gotta live it first, okay? You gotta have that experience, or at least that's what I thought, okay? If I can go back, I don't think I would have done it quite the same way, but that's what I did. That was a, in my opinion, that was a bad decision, and I had to learn from it. And that was tough. I don't recommend that you do it, okay? I almost didn't get out of that. That's what I'm trying to say. Like that was like something that is so like cleverly, like insidiously, like underneath my surface that I had forgotten about. I didn't even realize I was, continuing to do that. It becomes like a way of life. It becomes a language, and you even start lying to yourself, and then it's really hard to get out of that. You almost get trapped in your own mind. So it's scary stuff. Okay, I think I've strayed a little bit, but it's just a kind of cool, I guess, story, and kind of something that kind of fits here at least a little bit. But these are some of my own experiences. Answering that bigger question, I think we did that maybe towards the beginning, or at least we explored it a little bit. That's what I got on this one. So that was to answer the question, why do smart people make bad decisions? I think we wrestled with that one pretty good. And I've given you even some of my own perspectives, ones that I hope that you'll never have to, endure or challenge yourself with. But hey, even me just mentioning it, maybe some people can see themselves or some mistakes that they made or something like that. So keep all that in mind, that it's, this could open up your eyes to maybe some behaviors or some things that you've picked up along the way. Without somebody kind of saying it like this, it might be hard for somebody to recognize that or realize maybe where they went astray. So I feel like this is kind of serving as a double service to people. Not only do you get to hear kind of a cool story, but maybe some people out there did this or didn't even realize that they did it. And now you kind of get to hear it and kind of how challenging that could be. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for you guys on this one. We will do the next one on the next video. I will catch you guys there.